Okay, before before I start my speech, I would like to ask everyone a simple question first. Have you ever felt that you're not enough or you're unsatisfied with yourself? If you do, please raise your hand. Okay, so I can see that most of us have these feelings before. I mean, it's a very understandable feeling, right? Especially in a time when, there's so much focus on, being the best or achieving a lot of things in our culture these days. But because of all of that, how can we, deal with all of the pressure and that feeling of dissatisfaction? So what I'm going to do today is I will show you the three main building blocks towards acceptance and becoming more serene and calm in a storm of overachievers and a society that continues to bring us down. So let's talk about the first aspect of being accepting of yourself, which is stop comparing yourselves to others and being grateful for what you have accomplished. So in our lives today, especially in a time, which I said before, that is focused on achieving a lot of things, we tend to look up from our humble position towards these people who have amazing talents, who have accomplishments, who are something that we're called exceptionals in our times. For example, we have these students who have won many significant awards to prestigious universities around the world and who have graduated with flying colors in the most elite schools. And furthermore, we also have these very young and aspiring business people who have run their businesses and amassed significant fortune even at a young age. And also there's these very influential and famous social stars on TikTok or Facebook who's giving hundreds of inspirational speeches every day. So these people, are held by our society as the perfect standards, the ones which we need to follow. We need to look ourselves up to them and base our actions and thinking everything after them. But the way we are focusing too much on them is very likely to overshadow the feeling of satisfaction we need to give to ourselves, to congratulate ourselves on the achievements that we made. So to overcompensate for the feeling of feeling like a failure by comparing ourselves to these people, we tend to pursue a lot of goals. We tend to do everything. We put a lot on our plate. We do everything at the expense of our own health and well-being, just so that we could be seen in the same positive light as society sees those people. So because we're doing all of this, we're kind of leading a toxic lifestyle in which we're not, never feel satisfied for what we've done. And to illustrate this with a fictional example, I remember this story from ancient Greek about a craftsman who's very ingenious, very skillful, who has to face with a very bitter fate of being trapped in prison along with his son by his king, who doesn't want him to reveal a very sacred secret. So in the prison where there's practically no way of escaping, this man, with his amazing talent, has, produced two pairs of beautiful wings to help him and his son escape the prison. So when they build that wings and when they try to fly out, the Deus, the craftsman I was talking about, is content with escaping. So he only flies at a moderate height, right? But his son, who is way more ambitious and who is always willing to reach the goals that are way out of his range, tries to fly high into the sky and ends up getting burned by the sun. So the tragic story of his son reminds us that we should not, devote our energies and our efforts into chasing goals that may not, be realistic or maybe out of your range. We should focus on celebrating our achievements, our, little milestones that we should, and stop obsessing over the things that, may be too idealistic or unrealistic for us to pursue. So another part of being accepting of yourself is to be, be more forgiving towards your imperfections. What I mean by that is you should learn to love your imperfections. So we, as human beings, we all have these little quirks, something physical features or, personality traits that might not be deemed as perfect in our society. Some of us might have, not have the ideal height or ideal weight. We don't have the bright skin, or we don't have the model-like body, or personality is very lukewarm, and we're not very outgoing, we're not humorous enough, we're not extroverted enough, and we try as hard as possible to shake these features away from us because we think that those things are what drag us down. But is it the truth? Should we try to push all of these things away to pursue some standards set by society, some people who don't know us? So let's take a look at an example, also from ancient Greek. It is the story about the statue of Aphrodite. So this statue is very special because it doesn't have any arms. It is missing its limbs, but somehow it is still held as one of the most beautiful statues of the woman that has ever been made. Because of those missing limbs, the statue has established itself as something that is very unique, and it has attracted a lot of attention from many critics worldwide. So what can we learn from the story of this statue? I mean, we all have the same, imperfections, the things that we might think that are not perfect in our world. But don't ever forget that it is those things that can help us, become more unique, become, an individual, those things that set us apart from the people that are trying to follow a certain standard. Or always say the sheep, the people who follow the crowd. So by embracing those so-called weaknesses, we're not actually limiting ourselves. We're embracing our power and our individuality. And so that is the second step towards accepting. Now, that is the third one, which is also very important. It is about trying to overcome your, obstacles to pushing out of your comfort zone. So it doesn't mean that we're accepting ourselves. It doesn't mean that we're trying to limit ourselves and we never stepped out of our comfort zone. What we should do is to always remember that leading a life that is just never out of your, safe zone would definitely lead you to a very hopeless and tedious place where there's no reinvention, no risk, no challenge that could help you, rediscover yourself. So for this step, I also have a very, fascinating example to talk to you about. So do you know the stories behind the two Disney princesses, Ariel and Rapunzel? Do we all know these two lovable young ladies? Okay, so they are a very similar story. They share a very similar story. So when we are greeted with these characters in their own movies, they are living in a comfort zone. Ariel is staying inside the ocean where she pretty much has everything and she's the princess of the oceans. And Rapunzel, on the other hand, has a very plentiful life in the castle up high in the sky. But both of these characters, right off the bat, are not satisfied with their own living conditions. Ariel wants to explore the human land. She wants to become a human with two legs. She wants to, become a thing that can enjoy the sun, that can, just immerse herself in the human culture. And for Rapunzel, she wants to go down to the earth to find her community where she belongs. Instead of spending her days alone in a tower that's up high in the sky. So both of these characters are trying really hard to push themselves out of their comfort zone every day so that they could lead the meaningful lives that they are intended for. They are never trying to, limit themselves to a life that is not full of challenges and risks. So basically, what I want to advise you through this story is that we should always try to push ourselves to become better every day. We should not be complacent where we're standing at, and remember that challenges and differences and risks are the things that give us a fresh breath of life. Okay, it helps us to it helps us to evolve every day, and it helps us on our path towards evolution and making us better individuals. So to sum up, there are the three main building blocks towards acceptance. The first one is learning to be grateful for your accomplishments and refrain ourselves from negative comparisons. The second one is to be learning how to love your imperfections and be able to embrace your own individualism against all odds. And the third one is to overcome any sort of boundaries or challenges and help us steadfast on the path, become a better version of ourselves. So achieving all of these three things, you will reach a thing called a sweet spot. Okay, that is like an apex of acceptance. And this, when you arrive at this highest point, you definitely feel more content and satisfied with your life, no matter come high or hell water. Okay, so that is my take on acceptance. Thank you for listening. I hope that every one of us here sitting in this, auditorium can be more accepting of ourselves and take on new challenges in our lives in the best way possible.